Thank you, Diane, and thank you so much for the Q&A panel before. I was really ingrained in listening, particularly when you mentioned about the leadership modules and brought in compassionate leadership. So a very timely closing session for us today. I'm really grateful to be speaking with such a dedicated and compassionate group of clinicians today. It's obvious with the packed agenda and the title of the conference, Leading Together for Sustainability in Advanced Practice Education, that it lends itself so beautiful for me to close today about compassionate leadership. As advanced practice educators and clinicians, you will face incredible challenges every day, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Yet you continue to show up for your patients, students, your teams, and your communities with unwavering commitment. And today, wanting to talk about that concept that I believe is really at the heart of effective healthcare, which is compassionate leadership. So compassionate leadership in a world where burnout is a real threat, where patients are often at the most vulnerable when we are caring for them, and where the pressure to deliver exceptional care never fades, compassionate leadership can be a game changer in terms of a tool in your toolbox, in your leadership toolbox. It is a leadership style that can transform not only how we care for our patients and students in this context, but also how we care for one another at work, and more importantly, in lots of ways, ourselves. At its core, compassionate leadership is around these few points you can see on the slides here: being present for others, listening with empathy, responding with understanding, and providing support that helps people thrive, even under the most trying circumstances. And it goes beyond just that clinical expertise, which you all have. It's about creating a culture where every person, whether a patient, student, colleague, leader, feels seen, heard, and respected. And for clinicians, compassionate leadership means that we don't just lead with our skills, but also with our hearts. We make decisions with the understanding that we are guiding not only the physical health of others, but also their emotional and the mental well-being holistically. It means showing up for your team during the hardest moments, offering encouragement when the weight of responsibility often feels too heavy, and sharing your vulnerability so others know that they're not alone in their struggles, as demonstrated here in this quote from Oprah Winfrey around leadership being about empathy. Why compassionate leadership matters in healthcare. So the environment we work in is uniquely challenging. As advanced practitioners and educators, you work long hours, high-stakes situations, juggling multiple priorities from lots of different angles, often in environments that are constantly changing. And in this context, compassionate leadership is more than just kind of that moral imperative. It's a practical necessity, and here's why. Compassionate leadership fosters trust and collaboration. It helps create that sense of psychological safety where individuals feel supported and valued, and they're more likely to speak up, share their concerns, and collaborate more openly. It promotes well-being, and as clinicians, you'll carry the weight of others' pain and suffering in lots of circumstances. And compassionate leadership creates that space for you to care for yourself in order to do that. By encouraging self-compassion and showing that it's okay to acknowledging when you're struggling, you're not only safeguarding your own mental health, but also creating a healthier work environment for others. It reduces burnout, and compassionate leaders are attuned to the signs of burnout themselves, and in their teams, they can feel that happening. And by modeling empathy and openness, can create an atmosphere where burnout can be identified early and addressed before it leads to exhaustion. It improves patient care, ultimately, and enhances the quality of care that patients receive. And when healthcare professionals feel supported and understood, they are more likely to provide compassionate care themselves, fostering better patient outcomes. And as Simon Sinek says here, basically just doing the right thing. Bad leaders care about who is right. Good leaders care about what is right. Let's see if I can do the next slide properly this time. There we go. That's fantastic. So it's so important as clinicians and educators ultimately to have that foundation of evidence base, as the Q&A panel were describing before. But actually, how scary that can be, which again, in terms of being able to nurture teams and environments to be able to do something that's pretty scary and fearful, is really important. Compassionate leadership is quite a new and emerging researched concept in terms of organisational behaviour and leadership studies. And it emphasises the importance of leaders showing empathy, care, concern for their employees' well-being, not just in terms of that kind of professional performance, but in terms of their own personal health and emotional needs. There have been some key areas of research behind compassionate leadership that are focused on that kind of psychological foundation, leadership being rooted in psychological theories such as emotional intelligence, empathy, social neuroscience. Empathy and compassion, empathy which involves understanding and sharing the feelings of others, is central to compassionate leadership. And research by researchers like Jackson Desaity explores how empathy activates specific regions of the brain and how this can motivate behaviours in leaders. Compassionate leaders not only empathetic, but actively seek to reduce suffering and provide support to their teams. There's areas of positive psychology focusing on strength and well-being and flourishing. It aligns with these ideas by fostering an environment where employees feel supported and valued and encouraged. There's the area of neuroscience of compassion. Neuroscientific studies have found that compassionate behaviour has a positive impact on the brain, both for the person receiving compassion, but also for the person giving it, and also the impact on employee well-being and performance. Researchers found that leaders who demonstrate compassion positively influence employee well-being, reduction in stress, and increase in engagement. And when leaders provide emotional support, employees are less likely to experience that burnout that we described before. Also social exchange and trust. Compassionate leadership enhances social exchange by building trust and that reciprocal relationship. Practicing compassionate leadership involves leading with empathy, understanding, and a genuine concern for the well-being of others. It requires a mindset and actions that prioritise human connection, emotional intelligence, and the development and nurturing of others. So how do we practice compassionate leadership? I've spoken there about what it is, the evidence base, but how do we actually do it? You already embody compassion because of the careers in care that you've chosen. But compassionate leadership extends that same empathy and attentiveness to your colleagues and your teams. And here's a few ways that I thought you could put these into practice. Listening actively. One of the simplest yet most powerful and sometimes most difficult thing to do is to listen, and to truly listen without judgment and without interruption. Whether it's a colleague expressing frustration or a patient sharing their concerns, acknowledging their feelings and letting them know that you care by listening actively. Leading by example. Compassionate leadership starts with you. If you want to create that culture of compassion, you must embody it first, showing kindness in your interactions, being mindful of your words, and leading with humility and expressing gratitude. Your actions will speak louder than any directive, policy, or procedure. Creating space for vulnerability. It's okay not to have all the answers, none of us do, and it's okay to show that you're human. In fact, showing vulnerability builds connection and trust. Encouraging your teams to do the same by modelling that behaviour, and also creating a space where people can feel comfortable expressing their challenges without fear of being judged. Offering support and recognition. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is simply say, "You're doing a really brilliant job. Thanks so much for today," or "I see you." Recognising that the hard work of colleagues and offering words of encouragement can make the world of difference. Being present in a world that's always rushing makes a point of being present. Whether you're with a patient or a team member, giving them your full attention is a small act of presence that can really create a deep sense of value and respect. Now, the ripple effect of compassionate leadership is that it doesn't just affect the leader and the person being led, it has that ripple effect. So when you lead with empathy and care, others are inspired to do the same. Your patients will feel it, your students will feel it, your colleagues will feel it, and it spreads, building a culture of kindness and understanding that everyone needs lifting up. In healthcare, the stakes can be incredibly high, and particularly in terms of advanced practice. And compassion is not just a nice to have, it's really a must have in environments where the stakes are so high. When we lead with compassion, we don't just create better work environments, we create better experiences for everyone involved. And by practicing these principles, compassionate leadership fosters a supportive and trusting environment where people feel valued and empowered and motivated, and ultimately leading to more effective teams, greater loyalty, and improved performance. So finally, you can't fill from an empty cup. Giving all the time is really, really hard. So what is in your self-care toolkit? What brings you joy? Do you prioritize physical health? Do you exercise regularly? Do you, as I do, I've got a newfound love of Kundalini yoga. Do you enjoy walking, doing swimming? Do you eat properly to get the energy levels and the cognitive function that we need to be able to look after ourselves? Do you sleep well? That's something I really have to work on. But getting enough quality sleep is crucial for that mental clarity and focus and emotional balance. Leaders should prioritise sleep and create that routine. We all should to have a sufficient rest, get the energy that we need. Do you develop mental and emotional resilience, mindfulness, meditation, but also things like setting boundaries? It should be saying no is something that we all, particularly in healthcare and in education, find really, really difficult, but it's really, really necessary. And protecting our personal time away from work is critical to preventing that burnout we talked about before. We all are aware and have experienced reflective practice in our training, taking time to reflect on the challenges that we face and also the emotions that we have can promote that growth and prevent that emotional overload. Are you using the social support that you have around you? Are you cultivating those relationships and connecting with your peers and mentors as you are today in the network? Are you seeking professional support? Engaging in coaching or therapy can provide really valuable external perspective, improve your leadership skills and offer that emotional support that we all need going through tough times and making tough decisions. Taking breaks and holidays, creating healthy work environments, promoting that work-life balance that not only for ourselves, but also then role modeling for our teams. Encouraging time off, flexible working hours, and ensuring that resources to mental health support are available to our staff. Do you practice good time management? Effective time management can allow ourselves to prioritise that self-care that I'm describing here, enabling us to meet the demands of our roles. Delegating tasks, using scheduling tools to manage those responsibilities. Those are just a few kind of examples of, tools that can be in your toolkit. And my challenge to you today is to write down, either get an old school pen and paper or your notes app on your phone and write out your own self-care toolkit. What brings you joy and what gives you the happiness that you need and that time you need to care for yourself as leaders, enabling you to be more compassionate as a leader. So just in terms of closing today, as advanced practitioners and educators, you've got an immense responsibility guiding your organisations whilst ensuring the well-being of your students and your patients. By practicing self-care, you're not only safeguarding your own health, but also enhancing your leadership effectiveness, creating a supportive environment for your teams, enabling them to be nurtured. Prioritising your self-care ultimately leads to better decision-making, healthier cultures, and improved patient care. It's a bit of a no-brainer. The research behind compassionate leadership emphasises that it's not just about achieving results, but fostering the environment where being supportive and caring and emotionally intelligent, prioritising the well-being of individuals is imperative. Compassionate leaders are more likely to inspire trust, improve employee engagement, and drive better organisational outcomes. So to all of you today, I leave this with you. You've chosen a profession that requires not just your expertise and your skill, but an immense amount of heart. As compassionate leaders, you have the power to shape the future of healthcare, transform lives, not just through the care that you're providing to patients and through the education you give to your students, but through the way you lead and support each other, as you have done as a network here today. So I leave you today with kindness and empathy and compassion for everything you are doing. You're not only making a difference in the lives of those you care about, but also in the lives of your colleagues, your students, and yourself. So don't forget your self-care toolkit. Have a chat about it over your coffee and next networking session, which is coming up next. And I thank you all for coming today and for listening to my closing remarks. Thank you so much.